My name is Garrett Tufte, and I'm here from Lawrence, Kansas, and I have a radical new idea for American political situation, and for the rest of the world, for that matter. The distance that our families and friends have has been widening. There's been mediums put between our personal satisfaction that we have with each other. Concerned people are talking about the increasing distance between folks. And much of that coming from fear, which comes from a security state that makes money off that very thing. And we all know that it all comes down to the almighty dollar. Right now, the household to debt ratio is quite high. In addition, you can look at other countries. Look at Canada, household to debt ratio, something like 160%. Also China, it's rising up to near 100% themselves. At present, certainly for the last 20 years, our system of economics and politics has been doing excessive damage and accelerating the crises that we're experiencing at present. Global warming, resource exploitation, destruction of the biosphere, loss of wildlife, loss of forests, the acidification of the oceans, the melting of the ice caps, glaciers, droughts, floods, the astonishing changes in temperature that are occurring especially at the Arctic and the Antarctic. We have already seen the Great Barrier Reef itself is dead already now. And for decades, scientists have been sounding the alarm, in addition to environmentalists, activists of all sort, that if we continue along this path, we are going to face certain destruction. We don't have much time left, folks, and if we don't do something now, we're going to be facing total disaster, civilizational collapse, and we'll be taking much of life on Earth with it. Now, we can either rationally, right now, as a people, as a country, and as a world, come together over a logical benefit that helps all of us and our planet, or we can wait for the planet itself to force a change on our society. Now, that force of change on our society is going to be very ugly, and it's going to come with a lot of bloodshed. I don't want there to be some sort of bloody revolution that wrecks the system itself and then takes out everybody in the meanwhile. With the shift in our ecological understanding, we can take care of multiple problems. If we rationally look at it and find a way in order to combine all these issues into a single solution. So toward that end, I've spent the last 10 years trying to figure out how to reduce our energy consumption and the exploitation done to this planet and to its people. I've been researching, studying, talking, engaging in dialogue and discussion with as many people as possible, and reading as much as I could in order to somehow find some sort of magic bullet that could do this, that can actually drastically, immediately, and fundamentally alter the way that we live our lives to reduce the amount of energy consumption we have. We have the necessary infrastructure, housing. We also have surpluses of food and water all across our country. And the astonishing amount of waste and misuse of these resources is one of the reasons we're in the trouble that we are today. And I've found 3 economic propositions that, when taken in tandem, solve or alleviate 36 separate systemic societal issues. They address 7 existential threats, and they also have the side effect of achieving 6+ collective dreams. But essentially, these 3 economic propositions save the world and create a new paradigm, a new world where we are free to engage and enjoy in pursuing our passions, utilizing our best skills and talents, and setting the stage for the next evolution in human society. So how do we do that? Step one is properties. Anyone who legally occupies a residence now owns it. And repeat for other properties utilized by the person or family, cars, agricultural land, farming equipment, the building in which a business is located, etc., and appropriate housing is given to the homeless. Essentially, if one has a lease or a rental agreement for any particular property that one actively uses, you can bring this down to the county clerk, and the clerk will sign out a deed of ownership for that person, and at the same time take note of who the previous owner was and the appraised value of the property. Now, there are some qualifications to add to this. For instance, if someone owns their own house outright and lives within it, they will be paid the appraised value of that house. That applies to others who have similar ownership in other manners, cars, land, that sort of thing. Anyway, that was step one, properties. Step two is accounts, in which case all debts, foreign and domestic, are forgiven, and all accounts in US dollars are closed. If we continue to live in the way we do, those first two steps will happen on their own, because the market will crash, the US dollar will go, the rest of the world will gang up on us and beat this empire into submission in one manner or the other because it's gotten out of hand. When all these collapsing forces come down on us, the poor are going after the rich. That's just how it's going to work. Those who have a lot and those who have none, there's a very difference there. There's going to be an equilibrium there on a societal level if we continue living the way we are. So those two things, first step and the second step, are going to happen if we do nothing eventually, and it's going to be ugly. What we have run into on a global scale is a petrodollar that has become toxic. The American empire and the Western world in general has certainly in the last 20 years been running amok, essentially gobbling up as many resources as it can for continued expansion. It's causing regime changes, all sorts of underhanded global political and economic sabotage, as well as a fair amount of exploitation here in the States to our own people. Now, this is most often not even really attributable to any individuals who are making these decisions. This is a system that has been in place for a very long time. So one of the things that is necessary for us to step into this new world is to jettison what we know to be toxic and to be not helpful, not only for the common people, but also for those in power and those who have a lot of money or positions of authority within this system at present. It would be beneficial for all of us to be rid of this and to put something else in its place. We come to step three, reconciliation, where in a new currency, all former owners are paid the appraised value of each property that was given away in step one. One of the parts of this that makes it entirely legal, it operates on the principle of eminent domain, that whereby the government determines that there is a greater public benefit to the use of a particular property, such that it is taken from, not taken necessarily, but exchanged from the previous owner for a fair compensation. By doing so, we jettison the toxic petrodollar that we use right now. We back this new currency with the properties that are thereby given to the occupiers themselves. The people who actually utilize them really should be the ones who own them. But with these three principles, what we do is set up a new economy based on a new currency that thereby allows us to reestablish what really is valuable in our economy and in our own lives. This central part here shows these 36 systemic problems that are either solved or alleviated. And the green shows those that are entirely solved, the orange mostly solved, and the yellow partially. And so for the green ones, we have high rent, homelessness, medical bankruptcies, student loans, and the indentured servitude that comes with them, rent-seeking, childcare costs. Also traffic congestion, smaller issue, nonetheless solved. As a result, you have an astonishing percentage of what we do on a regular basis and how hard we work and where we have to go in order to make that happen. That is reduced. You could just take the percentage of how much on a monthly basis a family spends on rent and repaying debts as a percentage of their income, and you will see how much less we need to work, and thereby how much less we need to consume. Thus, reducing that reduces our consumption, reduces the energy consumption through driving our vehicles, reduces the amount of fast food we eat, reduces the amount of plastic we utilize, reduces everything. Essentially, this gives us the ability to do less. And so you look at all those other solutions that are floated around to get past this ecological and societal crisis that we're experiencing, and so many of those solutions say we need to do more. We need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do more of this. But this system, these propositions, when taken together, allow us to do less, and at the same time do more, if one so chooses. This leaves, as well, creates an incredible amount of liberty. This is radical freedom that comes with this. Now, I'm the type of guy who has faith in humanity, and the fact that a lot of us don't is partly because we have been raised and controlled by many different mechanisms of this system itself. The system has become toxic to humanity, to life itself. These three propositions take a wrecking ball to the system, but they preserve all the people. That's why this is a revolution, not a revolt, and it's bloodless. There doesn't need to be any fighting in the streets, no class warfare, no race warfare, no fighting over water, food, etc. The divisions that we've had in the past will fall to a unity that comes with common goals. No one is required to necessarily go out and do a particular thing. This is not a plan that involves repression or oppression or austerity or top-down control. In fact, the tendency toward control from the highest level outward is what has gotten us to this level. The hegemonic intention of a Western empire that aims to have all of nature and all the people controlled has led us toward this place, and we are in history. Unfortunately, we can't keep living like that. You can see all of this on my website, tuftiesvariations.com. If you would like to look into it, I would encourage you to, wherever you're from, whatever your standing, whatever race, class, ethnicity, religion, creed, it makes no difference. We are all in this together, and I encourage you to check this out and to pass along the good word. The existential threats addressed are global heating, ecological destruction, economic collapse itself, nuclear war, again, less resources necessary, less expansion, less Western world going into other countries unnecessarily. This would result in a contraction of the empire as we know it. and in a stable manner as well. This is not a plan that involves repression or oppression or austerity or top-down control. In fact, the tendency toward control from the highest level outward is what has gotten us to this level. The hegemonic intention of a Western empire that aims to have all of nature and all the people controlled has led us toward this place that we are in history. Unfortunately, we can't keep living like that. That very control is what is causing the lack of control. Essentially, it's like a palm full of water, and to hold the water tighter requires closing the fist. But when you do that, water spills out. This plan, in fact, utilizes the necessary cycle of a market to boom and bust. It utilizes the bust part as a benefit, which if we had this plan and we had the wherewithal to make it happen, would in 2009 or as well in 1929 would have greatly enhanced the strength and liberty and freedom of the people of this country and elsewhere were it pursued during those economic downturns. Doing a system like this and utilizing the bust of the market itself in order to benefit all the people at once, at the same time retaining the status and position and monetary, let's say, power of those who are already in power, is something that essentially our capitalist system has not figured out how to do. So this preempts that collapse itself and reestablishes something even stronger. The American dream is achieved by this immediately for everyone in the country. The dreams that are achieved as a result, we're not even just talking about taking care of a lot of the issues and problems that we have in this country and the world over, but also achieving dreams that we've always wanted, our passions, our wants, and our desires. The income is still there, the jobs are still there, all our politicians are still there, all the businesses that we have at present are still here. Nothing really goes away except numbers on paper. But you remove crime for necessity, you give people their own home that they own entirely, and basically you reduce all incentive for crime across the board, and we can immediately make some huge dents in the astonishingly large prison complex we have in the country at present. Not only does everybody benefit from a continued existence on this planet, not only do they benefit from a reimagining of our equality, but the people who have high status at present, the rich, they stay rich. The people those of us who have worked so hard and have spent all our lives to gain some material advantage and power in this world at present will have as much in the next economy as well. A room of one's own, to have freedom and residential ownership is the precondition for the creation of genius. Now you apply that to 350 million people, a couple of the most educated generations in written history, and what you have is a new paradigm. People able to follow their passions, to utilize their skills and talents for what they really believe in and what benefits them and their neighbors and their community. These three economic principles allow freedom from things like debt collection and allow freedom to pursue one's own happiness. This is a radical change in freedom that allows and frees up so much of our time. No longer just delegating passions to weekends. We can dedicate our lives. And really all it requires is a bit of selfishness on our part. To ask ourselves, would this benefit me? Would this benefit my family? That's step one. And then step two turns out that it's actually altruistic at the same time. So I ask you all to resurrect your hope. This world is not gone. We can mitigate the damage that we have caused and what is to come. And we can live in something that is preferably not a hell on earth. It can be a heaven. As a result, we look at this and rationally come to an agreement on a common basis that following these principles, we can not only save the world, but at that create a better union for ourselves. Again, regardless of class, creed, gender, color, we're all in this together. I'm asking you to resurrect your hope that this world has done so much to beat down and to put it in something that can turn it all around. This is a revolution, not a revolt. My name is Garrett Tufte, coming to you from Lawrence, Kansas. Thank you for watching.